words of the gospel reading today, we have to be able to apply to ourselves. It's easy to be able to look at it and say, what's wrong with those people of Nazareth? Or back 2,000 years ago. It's like, no, the gospel has no time frame. And while it obviously took place in a specific time and place, it is timeless. And it is without limit. So we have to look at it and first of all recognize that the Lord said that he was sent to bring glad tidings to the poor. In this case, it makes no difference how much money you have. We have to recognize our poverty. It has to be a poverty of spirit. The richest of the people are very often the most poor when it comes to the spiritual life. And what a tragedy it is. We look at the situation in our own country. Mother Teresa had made that clear however many years ago when she said, it is poverty that a child has to die so that you can have, however she put it, your material wealth. And so there is a different kind of poverty. Yes, there is the poverty of those who have no money. But remember, those aren't the ones that the Lord even pronounced to be blessed. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit. So we have to be poor in spirit. We have that in the sense that we recognize our own interior poverty, but we have to have that poverty of spirit in the sense of recognizing our dependence on the Lord and being able to recognize how small we are. The Lord said he came to proclaim liberty to the captives. Here we are. Anyone who sins becomes a slave to sin. We're imprisoned in our own selfishness. We're imprisoned in our own wants and our self-love. We're the captives who need to be set free because the Lord came so that we could have the freedom of the children of God. And instead we keep handing ourselves over to Satan rather than living in the true freedom that we've got. Came to and the recovery of sight to the blind. Well, who's the blind? Again, there are people who cannot see, but there are none so blind as those who do not want to see. We have to ask ourselves, does that sound like me? As I pointed out many, many times to you, I am absolutely shocked at the number of people who do not see that there is a problem in our society right now. Everything is great. Everything is wonderful. Life has never been better. This is just so wonderful. Like, really? We can't even see that there's trouble? There's a real blindness. There's a spiritual blindness. And even if we have the ability to see what's going on around us, we have to ask ourselves, am I blind to my own self? Do I see what's going on within me? Because so often we try to justify ourselves and we're blind to our own weakness. We're blind to our own sinfulness. We are the ones who need the Lord. And then we have to go a little bit further. Because again, the people of his own town, they liked the words that he had to say, and they were pretty impressed. And then they had no faith. They wanted to kill him because he told them about Elijah, and he told them about Naaman the prophet, the Syrian. So we have to ask ourselves, does that sound like me? Am I willing to truly accept the word of the Lord? Do I really have faith in Jesus Christ? That's exactly the point St. Paul was making in the first reading. When he came to Capernaum, to Corinth, he said, I didn't come with any human wisdom. Remember, St. Paul came to Corinth directly from Athens. You look in the Acts of the Apostles, and it's in the Areopagus in Athens that he gives this rather extraordinarily beautiful speech. Never once mentions Jesus. Never once. Talks about their poets and talks about all their philosophers, all this stuff. He's speaking to the Greeks, right? Wisdom is what the Greeks were all about. And he walked away recognizing that he had totally blown it. It wasn't about human wisdom. No one is going to be converted by mere human wisdom, because even if there's an intellectual conversion, which there are a few people who have that, there still needs to be an interior conversion. It's not just believing the things about Jesus. We have to do that, yes. We can go through the catechism and we can say, yep, here it is. I can check all the boxes. I believe this, I believe this, I believe that. Do we believe Jesus? That's really what it comes down to. Do we have faith in Jesus Christ? Not simply do we have faith in what the church teaches about Jesus. We all know he's the Messiah. We all know he's the second person of the Blessed Trinity. We all know that he became incarnate of the Virgin Mary. Yeah, we can all check the boxes. That's not the question right now. Because I'm sure the people in Israel, back at the time of Elijah and Elisha, could have checked all the boxes too. And none of them had faith. They believed what their religion taught. They didn't have faith in God. That is the biggest concern for all of us as we move forward. There's not a question of whether you believe, at least I hope there's not a question of whether you believe what's in the catechism, that what the church teaches is correct. But the question has to do with the relationship of the person to the person of Jesus Christ. Do we believe in him? That's why St. Paul says, I preach Jesus Christ crucified, because our faith has to be in the Lord, in the real person of Jesus, not in the fake Jesus that we all like to make in our own image and likeness, not the fake Jesus that we hear about on TV, because that's not the reality. It's about Jesus Christ on the cross. It's about God loving each one of us so much that this is what he did for me. Can we look at that honestly and say, yep, this is what he did for me? Not just in general, yeah, he did this for everybody. Can we really accept it? Can we really believe it? And apply it to ourselves in such a way that we will now live it? Because we have to put it into practice. That's where we're headed. And so if we do not have that faith in the person of Jesus Christ, and if we do not have that relationship of love with the person of Jesus Christ, we will be lost. There is no hope anywhere else. St. Peter made it absolutely clear there is no salvation anywhere else other than Jesus Christ. None. And so if we're entertaining any of this nonsense, well, maybe yoga's okay, maybe Hinduism, maybe Buddhism, maybe New Age, maybe, it's garbage. Is there a little bit of truth in all those things? Certainly. If there wasn't, nobody would believe it. Even Satanism has a little bit of truth in it. Not a lot, but a little bit. That doesn't mean the whole thing is true, because there's a little bit that is. God alone is truth. God alone is love itself. And we are invited into that truth and into that love. Are we willing to lower our guard? Are we willing to enter into that? That's what the Lord is asking of us. So it's not just to have the objective faith. We need to have that. But now it needs to become subjective. We need to get it from the head to the heart, and we need to live it. It is absolutely critical where we are headed. If we don't have that, we're in trouble. And so we need to really start working on that. Look at the questions of faith, and look at the question of trust, and look at the questions of charity, and ask ourselves honestly, am I really living this? Because the Lord told us today it's for us that he came. to be able to set us free because we're the captives to our sins, to be able to open the eyes of the blind because we're blind to all of these things, to be able to proclaim a year acceptable to the Lord. That's where we're headed right now. It's nothing to fear because it is acceptable to the Lord. What is going on in our society is not acceptable to the Lord. Let's be clear. So Jesus is sending his mom because he wants us to be acceptable to the Lord, to form us, to conform us, to transform us into her Son. That can't happen objectively. That can only happen subjectively. We have to be willing to cooperate. We have to be willing to let our guard down. We have to be willing to allow ourselves to go through this. Are we willing to do that? That is really hard. Sounds pretty easy when you just make the statement. Doing it is not so easy. It's a choice we have to make, and we have to keep making it over and over and over again. Make sure that we're cooperating. So everything is there. It's why the Lord came. It's what the grace is there for us to be able to do. Now we simply have to choose it. If we don't, we become just like the people of Nazareth. We are his own. He came to his own, and his own accepted him not. They refused to accept the prophet because they knew him. Well, we've known Jesus, most of us, since we were babies. And so we just kind of ho-hum along. It's like, yeah, that's Jesus. He's right there. Yeah, always is. And it doesn't mean a whole lot to us. It's time that it means everything to us. That's, again, that point I keep making. It's 100% or you're not there. You're either in or you're out. Not, sort of, maybe, kind of, mostly. No. There is no such thing. Jesus didn't mostly, kind of, sort of, maybe go to the cross. It was 100%. We need to be in. That's the choice we have to make. And that choice is to love God with our whole heart and soul and strength, to let him into our hearts so that we can truly love it and love him, and not just be like the people of Nazareth who didn't have faith in him, and therefore he couldn't do much about it because they had no faith. So let's take what we already believe, what we already know to be true. Let's make sure it's not just objective truths that we can check the boxes. Let's get it down into our hearts so that our blindness can be removed, so the shackles can be taken away, so that we, the oppressed, can be set free by our Lord Jesus Christ, because we have chosen not only to believe in him, but to put into practice our true love for God.